What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. Let's go with y'all. Go check out my other videos. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. So I got a decently important video to talk about today. This isn't going to be the only one either, so expect more content today. However, it is going to be a more so political video. So if you were expecting anything less, I don't know what to tell you here. If you were expecting something different, I got other videos on my channel. Deal with it. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So, some people might be confused with how I worded the title, However, essentially, Joe Biden just signed an executive order for a new task force. The reason why I put quotes around that is because there's a couple of things that people keep forgetting that I haven't forgotten because I've done videos about it. But this new task force, what is it made to do? Well, apparently the entire point of it is to go after Glock switches, auto sears, and ghost guns. Now, I've done a video talking about ghost guns, so I'm really going to save that for last. It's not the biggest deal. But let's talk about Glock switches and auto sears for a second. What exactly are those? And, how do they work, right? What do they do? Just a whole piece of my dog's hair just flew across the camera right there. For those of y'all who saw that, that's one of my dog's hairs. That's what happens when you have a Catahoula that's mixed with a husky, apparently. Now, moving on. Sorry. Glock switches. What are they? Well, they are a very, very small little device that you add on to the back of your Glock. Some people might be wondering where. I'm not going to sit here and talk about how to do any of that because I don't want my channel taken down for that. But what I can say is that when you attach a Glock switch to your Glock, essentially it turns it from a semi-auto pistol to a machine pistol. Some people might be wondering, why don't you say machine gun? Because technically it is a machine pistol. Now, moving on, right? What does an auto sear do? An auto sear essentially does the same thing. You install it into your firearm. More commonly, we see it with ARs and AR pistols. And it turns it from a semi-auto firearm to full auto. So instead of one trigger pull, one bullet, hold down the trigger as many bullets as the gun has in it. Excuse me. Now, moving forward, why does that seem like such a big deal that they're making a new task force, a new task force in regards to this? Well, Glock switches have been plaguing the streets for a good few years now. Like, I actually first started hearing about them in 2020, 2021. So pretty much the entirety of Joe Biden's presidency, Glock switches have been in the streets wreaking havoc, essentially, or at least being used to wreak havoc by criminals. Why do we need a new task force for this? We don't. My best guess, and my best reasoning, I guess you could say, as to why he started this new task force is because it's voting season. Kamala is on the ballot for presidential candidate, and since she's vice president right now, her saying, yeah, well, Joe, you should sign that, and essentially being on his side for it, they're using it just for political gain. What will this task force do? More likely than not, nothing. Some of y'all might not remember, but about a year ago, Kamala was actually put in charge of an office to fight against gun violence. I don't know if you guys don't remember that, but I actually did a video talking about that. Around a year ago, Kamala was put in charge of a complete new organization that is supposed to combat gun violence. And what has happened? Nothing. She's done nothing with it. Nothing at all. A lot of people forgot. A lot of people wanted everyone to forget. I didn't forget. I did a whole video talking about it. Come on now. So let's be 100% honest here for a second, right? What will this new task force do? Probably nothing. Probably nothing, just like that new office combating gun violence has done nothing. Now, a lot of y'all might be wondering, well, what about the ghost gun part? You mentioned ghost guns earlier. That's also what they're going after. What exactly are those? If you haven't seen my video talking about those, I have no problem doing a quick explanation. But why are they named ghost guns is what some people might be wondering. It's not like it's an intangible thing. It's not like it's not physical. I mean, all a ghost gun essentially is an unserialized firearm. That's it. That's all a ghost gun is. That's all it means is that the firearm has no serial number on it. Now, why would they call it a ghost gun, you might be wondering? Because they want to instill that sense of fear. That was very rude of you, Rose. Very, very rude. Talking to these nice people here. Sorry about that. That was extremely rude of her, as we can agree. Just want to make sure the microphone was still on because apparently we've been having some technical issues with the microphones as well. But what I can say is that they just want to instill that basic sense of fear into you. That's why they call it a ghost gun. It's not some spooky ghost gun that, oh, you know, it's going to turn you into a ghost. Nothing like that. All it is an unserialized firearm. And when you properly state what it is, it takes that spookiness, that little scary edge away, and it just adds a good bit of dull to it. You know why? Because it does sound pretty dull. It does sound kind of boring. An unserialized firearm to somebody who isn't interested in firearms in any capacity, those are just two words. A ghost gun, though, oh, that's a little different. And here's the funny thing about, ghost guns, which I'm going to continue to say because it's just easier to say that than unserialized firearms. Ghost guns, if I'm not mistaken, guys, I am not a lawyer. Do not take what I'm stating here as legal advice. Do your own research. I'm not a lawyer. Plain and simple. Now, with that being said, if I'm not mistaken, ghost guns are not even illegal to own, actually. Ghost guns are not illegal to own if you made the firearm and you keep it at home, you can use it for concealed carry if you want to. You can, if I'm not mistaken on that part, you're allowed to make your own guns at home. You don't need to have them serialized, which technically speaking, those are ghost guns then, if they're unserialized. You're allowed to own them. That's not illegal. If I'm not mistaken, once again, you only have to serialize them when you either get rid of them or sell them. However that works. If you're transferring it to another person, whether it's a gift or whether you're selling it, whatever, that's when you have to serialize it. And that's the part that kind of cracks me up about this, because when you think about it, this task force, if they do their job, right? Excuse me, if they do their job, do you really think they're going to be going after a lot of people on the streets that, have actually bought ghost guns and technically are carrying guns that, while unserialized, they weren't the original creator or owner, which once again, the government would have no way of really knowing. But regardless, in the end, it just seems like there's going to be a lot of infringements on the Second Amendment that come from this task force. And some people might be wondering, well, what about the Glock switches and auto sears part? Those are, a lot of criminals are getting those. Those are becoming a big problem on the streets. You said so yourself. They're wreaking havoc, or people are using them to wreak havoc at least. Which, yes, that's true. However, we already have a bureau created in regards to firearm crime, the ATF. And the ATF, despite focusing on the F part more than the A and T, doesn't even do their job correctly anyways. They don't. The times they've tried doing their job correctly has ended with Waco, Ruby Ridge, recently Brian Malinowski, and I'm sure there's probably, unfortunately, going to be more if we don't disband the ATF. However, that's a whole other topic. Since the ATF is here right now, here's what I can say. Instead of this new task force that Biden signed an executive order into effect on that was so important, how about the ATF actually just does their job correctly and isn't a tyrannical government organization? What if instead of going after people who are properly exercising their Second Amendment rights, they actually go after people who are committing crimes with firearms? Why don't they go after the actual criminals? Keep in mind, when we're talking, they're not, let's be realistic here. They're not going to the streets. They're not going, in Chicago, trying to take all the switches from people. They're not let's be realistic here. This organization, more likely than not, is not going to be doing that. You know why? Because ATF, a much more well-funded and larger organization with much more manpower, hasn't done that. I don't know what to tell you guys here. It seems nonsensical to me to add this whole new task force when just around a year ago they had to put a new office to combat gun violence, which also did nothing, when we still have the ATF, which does nothing as well. I mean, I don't know, guys. It just seems like a bunch of infringements are about to be incoming, and realistically, we should probably be prepared. And I think that about wraps up for this video. I don't want to go into another tangent because I have a feeling that if I keep talking, I'm going to. And, you know, I don't need to put y'all through that today. But with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And whether or not you agree with me about this new task force, go ahead and comment down below why or why not. I'm curious, especially considering they put in a new office about a year ago to combat gun violence, and that did nothing. And we still have the ATF, and that also really didn't do anything to prevent these issues that this supposed new gun violence task force will also do. I don't know. I'm very confused here because it doesn't make any sense to me because, once again, it's done nothing. But whether or not you agree with me, go ahead and comment down below why or why not. And then make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.